Just ahead on American Black Journal, one of Detroit's most iconic homes is having a huge estate sale. We'll get details on how you can own a piece of Motown history. Plus, a look at the need for diversity in the world of venture capital. Don't go away. American Black Journal starts right now.
American Black Journal is funded by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first.
How does diversity bring energy to us all? At DTE Energy, we believe that it's the contributions of all that build great communities. As a company, we grow stronger by welcoming the unique perspectives of everyone. As community members, we support our state's broad culture and heritage. From working closely with women and minority-owned suppliers to embracing our local cultures, DTE Energy is powering diversity. The DTE Energy Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public Television. Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta Faucets, Craft-Made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
For Fun gave me a scholarship to help me attend Eastern Michigan University. I developed a passion for engineering at an early age. It started off with something as simple as fixing bikes. I didn't know anything about a bike shop or where I could go to get it fixed, so I just kind of had to play around with it myself. You can't really do everything on your own, so with even the smallest amount of help, just a little push, it can get you to where you need to be.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. Later this month, people all over the world are going to get a chance to own a piece of Detroit's musical history. The contents from the Motown mansion will be up for grabs at an estate sale and live global auction. The 10,500 square foot house in the city's Boston Edison district was once owned by Motown Records founder Berry Gordy. He sold it along with a lot of Motown memorabilia in 2002. Now the mansion has been sold again, and many items inside are for sale. Joining me now is the seller, Cynthia Reeves, along with Aaron Sapirski of Aaron's Real Estate Sales. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Cynthia, I'm going to start with you. The idea of selling Berry Gordy's stuff, it's really exciting, but there's also something sort of surreal, I guess, about that. If you're a Detroiter and grew up here, the idea that we're going to sort of disperse all of these belongings that he had in that mansion.
Well, it is fun. When I purchased the mansion from Berry Gordy, I had come back from Washington, D.C., having worked in D.C. for a number of years, and I noticed the mansion had been shuttered. And I wrote a letter that ultimately got to Berry Gordy that said, you know, I think that a home like this needs to be part of the community, the fabric of the city. And then I hit a certain, you know, I lived in the house, I renovated it, I won awards for the restoration of the home, and I was able to allow it to be used for many charitable events over the years, for which I'm very happy and very proud. And we were able to raise money for great charities. And over the years, I collected Motown stuff, just like any Detroiter does that loves Motown. And I also purchased a few things from Berry Gordy when I purchased that home. And I reached that certain magical number where I said it's time to downsize. And so nothing hit me better than to have a people's estate sale. So we have everything that's for any kind of price point. We've got matchbooks, you know, that someone can get just a small matchbook cover that says Motown. And in this way, it's kind of like a people's estate sale because there's something for everyone in the mansion. I'm very proud to be able to do that.
Give me an idea of how much demand there is for things like this.
Oh, absolutely. You know, usually a regular estate sale, we see a few hundred people on a weekend, and we've had, since just announcing this estate sale and auction, several thousand people contact us regarding, you know, the contents of the home. A lot of people are looking for Motown-related items. They're looking for records. They're looking for pieces of history, things that were in the home originally when Berry lived there. And so I think it's going to go very well. How do people get to participate in this? Is it just a website and a registration, or is there some sort of vetting process? So basically, for the estate sale, it'll be first come, first serve, and we'll have a line, we'll have a number system that people can read about on our website to get into the home, and that'll run from October 12th through the 14th, 10 to 4 each day.
Yeah.
For the auction, you definitely are going to have to register. You can register during the estate sale as well. We'll have a preview of the auction during the estate sale, and then at the door people can register to get into the auction.
Yeah.
And at that point, when the auction goes live, it'll also be live all around the world.
Right.
And so while the auctioneer is calling bids on the floor, we'll also be receiving phone bids from all over the world and internet bids as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that'll be a really fun event.
I'm sure it will. Talk about what it was like to buy Barry Gordy's house and live in it. Again, this is for Detroiters. I think there's a surreal element to that whole idea.
Well, the house is most famously known because of the fact that Barry Gordy purchased it, but it was really built by a guy named Nels Mickelson in 1917, and this is the 100-year anniversary of the home. So the first thing that I tell people about living in the mansion is that it's like living in a piece of art.
Yeah.
You have, coiffured ceilings that are hand-painted, things that you may see in some of our finer buildings downtown, the Guardian building. Nels Mickelson, by trade, was a lumberman and a home builder, and he actually built part of the city of Ferndale, Michigan, as well. And so the finishing touches in the mansion are great. And living in the home, it's just like, it's a dream. I remember sitting in the ballroom thinking, I'd love to take these columns and maybe faux paint them to look marble. And I leaned against the column and it was cool. I said, wait a second, this is marble.
It is marble.
I don't have to faux anything. So it is kind of surreal. And then in owning this mansion, you are part of the Motown family.
Sure.
And so that brings with it people like Martha Reeves and Duke Fakir, who see this as a second home. I remember Martha Reeves came by the first time we did a fundraiser for the United Way, and she was performing, and she says, "Where's my Grammy? I know it's someplace in this house."
Is that
And
right?
so it's that kind of family that you're part of, and so that has been a pleasure. And then making it available to the community. I remember a young woman who was a postal worker who was delivering mail, and she said, I've always wanted to have a wedding in a place like this. And it was within my power to make that happen. And so she had a garden wedding of her dreams at the mansion. So I've given to the city as much as I've received in terms of the love. I mean, people drive by all the time. I've had bike clubs, a biker club take photographs in front of it. It's apparently part of some scavenger hunt in the city of Detroit. People run out, there are 4 people in a car, they take a picture in front of the mansion, they run and get in and go away. So it's been fun.
Yeah. Talk about the outdoor space at the mansion and the neighborhood that it's in. I would imagine it's on pretty spectacular ground.
Well, it's a two-acre estate that's fenced in, and it's part of the Boston Edison Historic District. And at the time, this was the outer outskirts of the city.
When those were built.
Exactly. Right. And behind the home, it used to be country and farmland. And I think it's an ideal neighborhood to live in. It's a wonderful community. The people who've lived here have lived here for years. My mother lives across the street, and she's owned that home for 50 years, over 50 years. So it's an established community of people. Plus, we're getting some new residents coming in. That's exciting as well.
Yeah. What motivated you to sell the home?
Well, as I said, I got to a certain age, and I started to think, I've got to start thinking about the next move for myself, and this was a good time for me to do that. And so that allowed me to do it and to downsize. And so I'm looking forward to a new adventure. I restored that mansion. I won awards for it, and now I'm looking for a new project.
You find something else, right?
I will find something else.
You don't have to look far at Boston Edison. There's several other mansions that
Well, I think I'm going to go with a different style. Once you've lived in the Motown mansion, you're spoiled.
The others
for
are
anything.
just
So I'm going to look for like a
measure
nice
up.
Craftsman or a Frank Lloyd Wright or something that's a unique kind of property.
Yeah. I'm curious how interested people are in Detroit history, sort of memorabilia like this, not just Motown, but other things. I would imagine that we have other stuff that people are after.
Absolutely. There's a huge demand for old Tigers memorabilia. For example, like the old Tigers pennants from the 20s World Series go for several thousands of dollars. For example, there's Detroit history is huge worldwide. There's a huge following for Motown in UK, which we're finding a lot of interest from. And you never know what you're going to find, either at an estate sale or, in my job, in attics and basements all over the city.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing to be able to do every day.
What would you say is probably the most valuable thing in the collection that that you guys will be auctioning out of the mansion?
There's two things that are probably the highlights and in terms of value, and that would be Berry Gordy's Steinway piano, which he gifted to Cynthia Reeves. And then also there's a piece of art in the mansion that could also you know, be up there with the piano.
Right. Not Martha Reeves' Grammy.
Not yet. You know, and we are still uncovering and finding things every day. And it's been an honor to be able to, you know, catalog this history and go through and appreciate it. And so hopefully the neighborhood, the community, worldwide community can enjoy it.
Yeah. Was it when you bought the mansion, was it that Berry Gordy had just moved on? I mean, he hadn't lived here in years. Was it that he had just left all of this stuff behind?
Well, what it was is that, you know, although Berry Gordy moved the operations to California in the late 60s, he protected the mansion, and because of his protection, he had a property manager on site for all those years. The mansion is one of the few that remains pristine. It still has the original historic light fixtures, things that other people may have stripped out.
Other houses have lost.
Exactly, fountains, marble fountains, all of that is intact, and it was restored by yours truly over the years. And so we were very fortunate to have that. But it's kind of one man, it's kind of like I'm doing now. It's like I go, I'm ready to pack up, I'm like, oh, forget it, I don't want that. So
I'm not taking that with me, right?
And so we entered into an agreement where I just purchased some things that he no longer was interested in. So those are things that he just didn't want. And so we came to a price on it and agreed to it, and I purchased it. But now it's time for me to downsize, and so I'm kind of doing the same thing. And the kinds of things that he left, I know Aaron bought a few things he can probably share with you, but it's kind of one man's trash is another man's treasure. I thought these are wonderful things to have, and some of them I'm going to keep, but most of them I'm going to allow to be purchased by the public, and they can enjoy, I can spread the love. Right.
That's a cool story about the Steinway, that he left that for you, is that right?
Well, that's part of the nomenclature. The Stein was actually originally from Nels Mickelson, and it's kind of, he did it, but one of the things that we had was we had an issue where we were trying to get some light fixtures, and you know, I was kind of having a hard time finding them for the house. They were somewhere out there. And so I ended up, instead of, you know, going between these different, you know, appraisal firms that were holding them and storing them, I just called him directly and said, listen, I can't find them. I know that they're out there among the companies that you had, and that's part of what I purchased from him. And so he made a phone call. The light fixtures were there like the next day, and the piano came with it.
Piano came with it. Oh, look at that.
Kind of like for my 2 months of trying to be getting run around, kind of on the circuit of who's got the light fixtures, you know, kind of thing. So
that's a cool
that was very kind of him to do that, right?
Yeah.
But I took piano for 8 years at the Music Conservatory downtown.
See, there you go.
Never got out of book one. So I could do the Volga boat song, and that's about it.
All right. Well, congratulations on the idea. It's going to be, I would imagine it's going to be a very cool event. So
we're going to have the Motown stars that are going to be there. They're going to be there to autograph things. So I think that's going to be exciting.
Raise that value, right?
Well, for the people, again, every person may not have access to people like Duke Fakir. We're going to have the Funk Brothers there. We're going to have the Tours, the Vandellas, and they'll people be able to take that little matchbook cover that they get it signed, and they've got an instant collectible.
Forever.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, the push for more startup companies led by minorities. But first, we're going to continue our look back at the 1967 rebellion with the Detroit Historical Society's Oral History Project. This time, it's my uncle, Charlie Beckham.
I was a junior in School of Engineering, University of Michigan at the time, and back home in Detroit, working in a summer job when that all started in late July of '67. It's not a good time in our history. It was a terrible thing that happened to Detroit. It's taken us a long time to recover. But having said that, it's a part of our history, and it's important to understand what that was about and why we did it and how we've come to where we are now. And a lot of things certainly have happened. I think we were talking earlier about just what you call that in 1967. I try not to call it a riot. I don't think it was that. I think it was an insurrection and a disturbance. 1943 in Detroit was another unfortunate time, and I think that was a riot. It started between races African American and white on Belle Isle. It spread from there. A lot of property damage. It was not a good time, and that was a riot. When you look at 1967, it was more of a disturbance. It was more of the population, the citizens of Detroit expressing their displeasure with their quality of life, with the inequality in employment, income, housing options, services available, school system declining, and just a general frustration. And so, quite frankly, the spark was something like the raid on a blind pig on 12th and Claremont late one night, which really had nothing to do with all of those things, but it was something that ignited then the frustrations of the citizens.
Entrepreneurship and inclusion are subjects we talk about a lot on this program. A recent guest editorial in the Detroit Free Press focused on the need for more diversity in startups and early stage companies. The column pointed out that only 1% of startups funded through venture capital have black founders. Joining me now are the authors of that commentary, Seun Oyewole, Director of the Accelerate Michigan Innovation Competition, and Martin Dober, who is Vice President and Managing Director of Invest Detroit Ventures. Welcome, both of you, to American Black Journal. Let's talk first about Invest Detroit's role in trying to encourage startups and help early stage companies in Detroit.
So Seun and I work on the venture team of Invest Detroit. Invest Detroit has lots of roles helping companies of basically every size in the city of Detroit and the surrounding region. On the venture team, we work explicitly with startup companies. So we try to support them with not only capital to help them get started, but also mentorship and access to programs that can help get them to a point where they can raise capital in the future.
Yeah. And talking about how Accelerate Michigan's work sort of dovetails with what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So Accelerate Michigan is a program within Invest Detroit where we try to highlight the state as well as all the different high-tech, high-growth companies and really just show that Michigan is a venue for business, competition as well as opportunity. This is the 8th annual Accelerate Michigan competition, which will be taking place November 16th at the Detroit Masonic Temple. We're actually very excited to say that we'll be announcing the 36 semifinalists this coming Tuesday, October 3rd. And really, this is an opportunity for these companies to get exposure, to be able to network with investors, see the different corporations in the state that are willing to work with startups and partner with them, as well as even find potential talent and advisors. So it's really a great opportunity.
Yeah, and to the sort of subject of your op-ed, this difficulty getting African Americans access to, this is a capital problem, correct? We talk about all kinds of other barriers to African American entrepreneurship. This one really is just a green one, right?
Well, I would say that it's more than green. There are a lot of different gaps that are serving as hurdles for minorities to get involved in this high-tech, high-growth ecosystem, if you will. Capital for sure is a big one. But beyond that, we got to think through, what are the startup resources out there that can help folks really package and deliver what they're doing for their, respective communities. Who are the advisors? Where's the talent coming from? I think there's a lot of different things across the board that need to be solved for. Financial, of course, is always a big problem. But I think through Invest Detroit and what we're doing with Accelerate Michigan, we think intently and very comprehensive about how we can solve for those things. There's always room for improvement, whether we think about it locally or even nationally. But we're trying to take the first step, and at least bring exposure, come up with different programs, be able to reach out to the right people to ensure that, we're at least touching, the certain points and are able to actively try to solve for them.
Yeah.
Another big thing is not just the dollars going to minority entrepreneurs, but also the makeup of the teams of the venture capital firms. It's not just a Michigan problem, it's a national problem. Where about 1% of leadership teams at venture capital firms are African American, and probably around 10% of leadership teams at venture capital firms are women. So it's a problem not just here, but around the country. And people tend to invest in people they know in their own social groups. And so there's bias. And what we've tried to do at Invest Detroit is we have a very diverse team. We're very intentional about that. And not just for the sake of being a diverse team, but we've found that having a diverse team, it makes you a more successful business.
Yeah.
There have been studies, many studies over the years. McKinsey had a study back in 2015 that said companies that hire and are more racially diverse have a 35% more chance of outperforming their competition.
Really, really.
So having a diverse workforce is not only the right thing to do, but it can make your business more successful.
It could be a profitable thing to do
Yeah.
as well. Let's sort of talk about how this fits into the narrative that we have in the city right now about who's participating, who's benefiting from the things that we see happening in downtown and Midtown. This 1% number seems a real indicator that that's not all talk, that there is something to it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is just by being intentional about the programs that we offer and the outreach activities that we have. So we can certainly do better in the amount of African American entrepreneurs that we support and fund, but we are very intentional about just getting out there and meeting with entrepreneurs, mentoring them, at least giving them access, and at least giving them guidance. And, you know, hopefully when you start early enough, when you start in just education and training and getting them exposed, that will then lead to success later and
opportunity.
Improvement. But it's definitely going to take some time.
Yeah. So among the firms competing in Accelerate Detroit, I would also assume that you've got people from all kinds of different neighborhoods, right? I mean, you've got entrepreneurs in the city who live all over the place, not just looking to open things in downtown and Midtown.
Yeah, and to be clear, Accelerate Michigan is a statewide competition,
Right.
so we're attracting companies from across the state, whether that's Detroit, Ann Arbor, Lansing, the UP, making sure that it's geographically diverse. But to sort of answer your question, yeah, I would say we really work with the entrepreneurial support organizations in the city and throughout the rest of the region to not only get in front of the different companies, but to also be able to give them the guidance to put in a strong application, right?
Yeah.
And even if you're unable to compete at Accelerate Michigan, we're working through how are we giving this feedback to the company, and ensuring that they at least have the opportunity to attend, see the level of companies that are competing, so that they can incorporate that into their application for next year and be able to compete.
Yeah. How much progress do you see across time for those companies that maybe don't make the cut, but come back another time?
Yeah, so I mean, I think a really good example of this is the second year winner of Accelerate Michigan, which was back in 2011, Celsi Diagnostics. So the founders of the company actually, the first year they didn't apply to compete. They actually came in as volunteers. So they're able to kind of work in the different rooms, see all the different competitors, see all the different companies, internalize sort of what they saw to be success for their company. And then use that for the application, and they went off to win, the $500,000 grand prize the next year.
Right.
So I think it's super valuable in just at least being in the room, being able to network, being able to be exposed. Exposure is a huge thing. Being able to take that information, internalize it, and then apply it to your own business and see how it could sort of advance you through the pipeline.
I think what's also interesting to see over the years is where the competition, I think in the early years, most of the winners and the really strong companies were more in biotech and healthcare. Now we're seeing a lot of software companies, and so software companies have been really winning the competition recently. What we've also seen are shifts in geography where, Ann Arbor is certainly the hotbed of technology activity in the state, and they were winning with the top awards almost every year. Last year, the top 2 awards went to Detroit-based companies.
See, that's really great.
And the top award went to a Detroit-based company led by a woman entrepreneur. So
there's some progress.
There's some progress for sure.
It'll take us a little to move that 1% number, though.
Absolutely.
All right.
It's always
Thanks.
room for improvement.
Yeah. No. Thanks both of you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. That's our program for today. Thanks for watching. You can get more information about our guests at AmericanBlackJournal.org, and you can always connect with us on Facebook and on Twitter. We'll see you next time.
As American Black Journal looks ahead at the next 50 years, we want to hear from you, the viewers. Tell us what you think of this program and what you'd like to see on future episodes. Visit AmericanBlackJournal.org to take a quick survey and share your opinion. Thank you.
American Black Journal is funded by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first.
How does diversity bring energy to us all? At DTE Energy, we believe that it's the contributions of all that build great communities. As a company, we grow stronger by welcoming the unique perspectives of everyone. As community members, we support our state's broad culture and heritage. From working closely with women and minority-owned suppliers to embracing our local cultures, DTE Energy is powering diversity. The DTE Energy Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public Television. Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
For Fun gave me a scholarship to help me attend Eastern Michigan University. I developed a passion for engineering at an early age. It started off with something as simple as fixing bikes. I didn't know anything about a bike shop or where I could go to get it fixed, so I just kind of had to play around with it myself. You can't really do everything on your own, so with even the smallest amount of help, just a little push, it can get you to where you need to be.